a day in the life of a mechanic. Today, we're going to spend the day with Matt.
Yep, we're going to pray, okay, girlie?
He, like all new employees with Helimission, is both a qualified mechanic and pilot. He starts his day with his wife and daughter. After a hearty breakfast, he gets on a scooter and drives to work.
Bye, have a good day. Love you.
See you later.
Bye, Daddy. Love you.
Motivasi untuk menjadi hambanya yang setia.
Every morning, he starts his working day with a devotion. This is followed by a short team discussion, and then Matt assists the pilot who's flying today with the pre-flight check and preparing the helicopter for flight. If nothing urgent needs attending to, he goes to the office to check his emails, see what else is on the agenda, and writes up his reports from the day before.
Okay, what would you like me to do today?
Today, one of the helicopters is scheduled for a regular routine inspection. Matt has a short briefing with the local workers and then starts with the inspection. If we only had pilots who weren't also licensed mechanics, it would be absolutely impossible to carry out our flight operations. However, there are also other reasons for having a mechanic's license, as Matt explains.
I started with my A&P license, my mechanic's license, and then that opened a lot of doors for me to get into a job where I can do flight school. And then I did my flight school as a pilot mechanic, helicopters only. But the hard part was not so much getting a maintenance job, it was getting the flight time. So I always came in as a mechanic, and then that opened doors for me to do maintenance flights and all kinds of different flying options. So
Matt is a highly qualified pilot and mechanic. He invested a lot of time to obtain these qualifications. When asked how long he had to prepare before he could start working on the field for Helimission, and if it was worth it, he answers,
12 years from the time I started with communication with Helimission to the time I was on the field. It's always exciting, but during those 12 years it can be kind of discouraging at some points, thinking, boy, am I ever going to make it, you know? And then finally you get here and you get to see the faces of people you get to tell the gospel to, or see the Bible translated in their language, or bring someone to the hospital and see them return to their family. Yeah, it's totally worth it.
watching Matt work and seeing how he interacts with his colleagues and the locals makes it clear that the time he invested was absolutely worthwhile. Matt has lunch with his colleagues at a local restaurant, and he eats with and talks to the locals, which they very much appreciate. In the afternoon, Matt continues his work on the helicopter, replacing parts as needed from our spare parts store, which, among other things, he's responsible for. The inspection is successfully completed with a final inspection by our head mechanic. Then Matt turns to a special task. He's teaching some of the local workers about helicopters and flying, so that they can eventually be trained as mechanics and pilots to work in our team.
Besar dan ke sini naik, disknya naik.
Yep. Lebih apa itu besar di sini, so angle of attack.
After this successful but intensive day, He drives back home with his scooter. At home, Matt spends the evening with his wife and daughter, who is delighted to see him.
How was work?
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Good.
How was yours? I'm gonna go what? A what?
Dinner's ready.
No. Let's go.
Hungry.
Sweet. I'm gonna eat it first.
He tells them all about what he's experienced on this day, because as a mechanic and pilot on the field, it's
Can you
never
pray?
boring.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you pray.
Thank you for the finger. Amen.
Amen.